Okay, Rob. So we're live.
Nice.
Well, hopefully we'll see how this goes.
Right. Knock wood. Yeah.
Yeah, history of this being the time that the technical difficulties come in and the sort of RoboCop voices going in and the
Dead or
delays and
alive.
stuff. But so far, so good.
Yeah.
So how you been, man?
Oh, dude, that's a short question, but I can give you a years long answer. So I'll just, you know, in the interest of brevity, just say, oh yeah, doing great,
Doing great.
doing great.
So whereabouts are you living now?
So I find myself in central New England,
Yep.
specifically Worcester, Massachusetts. And yeah, I'm giving it a red hot go out here. Went to school for massage therapy.
Yep.
Yeah, at Bancroft School of Massage Therapy here in Worcester, just to kind of supplement, my skill set and my understanding of things.
Yep.
And it's been great so far. I was really busy pre-COVID, and I just went back to work yesterday, and
Okay.
My schedule was completely packed, and
I'm sure it is, yeah.
my schedule today is completely packed, and I think I'm working like 10 days in a row, and every single day I'm working from like noon to 10 p.m. Just
Solid 10 hours. You have some strong thumbs by the end of
well,
it.
yeah, the whole point is if you overuse your thumbs like windshield wipers, you'll develop some serious problems in the saddle joint and maybe the first joint here. But it's the trick is to massage from your feet.
From your feet.
Yeah, well, the idea is, you want to move from your feet and not focus on just here.
Yeah.
You want to move with the entire body. Pardon.
So that would be like that sort of links into your martial arts background, I suppose, because
yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
Be like water.
Right. That's a Bruce Lee quote, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to credit my extensive history in martial arts. I mean, not so much like Kyokushinkai, like traditional Japanese karate styles, but more Aikido for that kind of like kinesthetic awareness and learning how to kind of I don't know, just like row the boat, so to speak.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So that was really helpful, and definitely gave me a leg up in kind of understanding the discipline of manual therapy as it applies here.
Yeah. It's funny because just you saying that that sort of coincides with how we sort of came into contact with each other, because the whole gym setting and that even coincides with how you move a barbell or a kettlebell. Right. If you try and manipulate the movements at any point into one sort of specific manipulation sort of thing, it doesn't work, and you end up hurting an area of your body that you obviously don't want to hurt. You don't want to hurt any of your body. But
I think that the beauty of displacing heavy external objects is that it will correct you in no uncertain terms. It will let you know whether or not you have it. That's why I've focused on technique heavily for a long time, because once you begin to climb into the 2x 2 point whatever x body weight, then if your technique sucks, then you just don't get the lift. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Or you get seriously injured. So and kind of deeper there, it's critical to kind of pattern in correct movement with a lower percentage weight so that the nervous system knows what to do.
Yeah.
And it's automatic, so that when you do find yourself under under a really heavy bar, then the movement is automatic. You just have to kind of recruit more motor units to get the job done.
Yeah. I that always used to be it more so came from my female clients, who didn't get to see me. I don't like training with other people, which was the complete opposite of what my clients used to love. Was like I'd never do huge. Well, I did do a little stint of doing huge groups, and with that in mind, I sort of had to go back to something that I heard off of that video that I was trying to find the other day. That seems to have disappeared off the internet, which nothing ever seems to do. When you use the quote, "If you lower the bar, it's only good enough to keep the door open."
Oh yeah.
That was I mean, we can go on to sort of like the gym politics or the fitness industry politics as we go on, but yeah. So some of my female clients were always amazed because I'm not a big guy. I weigh about 75 kilos. I'm short, 5'7", but I was more than capable of lifting weight that was some of the guys that were sort of 90 to 100 kilos. Okay, maybe not the 100-kilo guys, but definitely up to the sort of the 90-kilo guys. And like my deadlifts, like I think what was my top was 195 kilos.
Attaboy. Right.
At 75 kilos body weight.
That's strong.
Made a huge mistake once I did that 195 kilos, then trying to go for the 200 more or less straight afterwards.
Right, yeah. I mean,
did myself a damage for a good 3 months there after that. Ego got involved there, I think.
There's the point. There's the point. Like, so for you who speak in, pounds and not kilos, 100 kilos is about 220 pounds. So you just take the kilo and multiply it by 2.2. So you can do your own math from now on. But yes, I know what you're talking about. Lifting with your ego is probably the biggest mistake I see a lot of people make. And it has not only negative physical ramifications, but the psychological effect
absolutely.
Is harsh as well. I made that mistake as a kid. There was this, was a reasonably accomplished and capable skateboarder, back in my youth. And I was always a stuntman, giant double sets and huge gaps and whatever. So there was this one massive, probably like 10-foot high, maybe 12 or 15 foot long parking lot to parking lot gap that my only goal was to just ollie, I wasn't trying to like kickflip or do anything spectacular over. I just wanted to clear it. And so after a couple bails, I just fully committed, and I ollied as hard as I could and saw everything kind of like float underneath me, and I landed and rode away super clean. And I was really, really psyched. So what does this asshole do? Says to himself, "Oh, well, let me try it again." Like I just fucking did it, right? So and sure enough, that's when things went sideways. I bailed, planted my foot, my body twisted, my knee, my right knee went to hell for quite some time. But it just turned out to be, after a visit to an orthopod, it just turned out to be like a severe sprain that eventually resolved. I mean, there's probably some scar tissue in there somewhere, but neither here nor there. The point is, don't let your ego drag your body, through it. Let your intellect kind of guide your action.
Yeah, which is easier said than done, and I think that takes quite a lot of practice and quite a lot of self-assessment at all times, really.
Well, it's a realistic thing. Like, you have to be realistic about your capabilities, but at the same time have kind of a healthy contempt for that kind of narrowing of your expectation, of your realization of your potential. Like if you think you can't, okay, then you can't, but you have to kind of challenge your own, as Mark would put it, self-imposed limitations.
Yeah, yeah.
With a tremendous amount of contempt. Two of my favorite words in the English language are, "Oh yeah." So.
No, I don't. I get it, because like you said there, like if you think you can't do something, then you can't. It's
Then you can. Yeah.
I remember spending like months with clients who would start off, they do so well, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, the way I used to sort of initiate my gym was how Mark sort of set out Jim Jones originally, with the sort of
Mm-hmm.
Fight Club sit on the doorstep
Yep.
mentality. People that I knew would message me. They, as much as I loathed this for a while, is I would never get. This will go again into the, sort of my contempt for the fitness. I'm doing air quotes here.
Yeah.
Fitness industry, the online fitness industry, is that the reason that I would attract customers was because of the imagery I would use of what my clients were doing.
Sure.
And the contempt I got with that was because then that some chick would post a picture of her ass and would get thousands of likes, and I'd get like 25. And I was like, I spent ages perfecting how to take these photos without people realizing I was taking them, etc. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, was that so through the photographs and the video content that I would put out, which thanks to you, I got to put some really awesome music to back in the day with the new Recon album at the time that had come out, that I got to use. I think Sniper's Day Parade was one of those songs I used quite regularly.
Yeah, thank you, pal.
No, thank you. I quite liked battling out with YouTube over that, with the with the copyrights. But I would get quite a few sort of people I'd grown up with, because like where I live now, Hereford's it's not a big place, so
sure,
the client base is quite limited, and you tend to know the people that are sending you the messages on social media. And my thing always was, they send me a message and say, could I come down and train? And I would always be like, no, you wouldn't be able, you wouldn't be able to manage,
right.
You know what I mean? And then I would say, like, I'm not having, and I would do this to some of like friends that were in the army, friends that were in the Navy.
Sure, people who are reasonably capable.
I mean, more than capable, probably fitter than some of the guys that I was training. But it was that sort of that telling people that they can't do something.
Exactly.
Makes them want to try harder to come down. Therefore, they want to be in the space for their own reason, rather than like me, like their own reason being that I'll show you. And that's
right.
the sort of well, that was sort of the ethos of what Mark tried to create, and I think he's recreating now in his own completely different style, along with Michael and Keegan, and those guys. And that's another thing I wouldn't mind having a chat about, because I've had some loose comments from Michael about the whole situation that happened, and I don't even want to delve into what actually happened. I just like.
Oh yeah, that's not for me to speak on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Michael's not willing to disclose the details, then I'm not going to try and get it from anybody else. But
well, I mean, it also boils down to, okay, you don't know who is still connected to who, or whatever
exactly,
whatever the behind the scenes political bullshit is. But very briefly to your point about people, knocking and waiting on the porch for a while. I think that number one, it's kind of a brilliant idea, and it plays on that psychological push pull. If people actually want something, say, no. And you kind of like pull it back from them. The harder they push, okay, the
Yeah.
more they're going to get out of it once they get there. But I mean, I think for some people, it plays on and I've mentioned this idea before, for a lot of people, it's their primary psychological master conflict of special versus ordinary, and people want to be special. They want to be elite. They want to be, different for whatever reason. Nobody wants to be, well, most people just don't want to be ordinary. They want to be more than they are or more than other people are. And I think that's what CrossFit, plays at when they adopted the slogan, forging elite fitness. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, cool. But let's see it. I mean, is it elite or is it elitist?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, I've always had my reservations with CrossFit, and not CrossFit on the whole,
Sure.
and not CrossFit as individual coaches, because I'm sure there are great guys.
Oh, there are phenomenal coaches out there, and there are some legitimately good boxes doing great work for great people, but the entire idea is something that the idea of doing, let's say, neurologically complicated movements over time in an exhausted state, that's just that's begging for orthopedic injury. That's it.
I went through a state, like, I never used gymnastic rings throughout. I was explaining to somebody that I work with the other day that during lockdown and getting back into work, that I'd sort of completely forgotten that I needed to be moving my body. So I was going back to stage one. I'm literally doing mobility, because I work as a chef now, Rob. And
good for you. That's honorable.
It's a lot of standing up for a long period of time for a really prolonged period of days, as
sure.
As I'm sure you are as well. And it does. We have on-standing jokes at work, because we've got guys that are younger than me, etc., and they're like, "Oh, you're just getting old." But you see them after at the end of a 40 to 55-hour week, and they're hobbling about. And I was like, Darren, you know exactly what to do. So I sort of took myself. I was like, I've moved my body in ways since I was 8 years old. Since I started taking, because I played soccer. And I play to a reasonably high standard, and over like this whole thing, I sort of forgot about that, and so I was just moving my body about the other day, and I've got outside this shed that I've got here, I've got my rings hanging up, and just saying that about the whole CrossFit thing was that I remember when I first got my gymnastics rings and first nailing a muscle up, and feeling like excruciating pain in and around sort of my triceps, and like the right in between my delts, and just areas.
Just in the joint itself.
Yeah, and pain that I knew it was like, I'm strong enough to do this, but my body isn't built to cope with it. And when you throw in things like muscle ups, if you're not accustomed to do it, like, you might be strong enough to do it. Like I said, I've trained guys that are more than capable of doing stuff. They are way more capable than some of those people that you see in the CrossFit adverts and stuff like that. That are definitely not doing performance enhancing drugs. Definitely not.
Sure. Yeah. Without question. Yeah.
And not to say they all are by any means. I'm not even.
No, but if you're going to be on that level, it's completely clear who is, and if they want to stand on the podium, I think for those purposes, I mean they're going to do it. if that's
Yeah.
what's important to them. I mean, that's their ace in the hole. So they flip it and they stand on the podium, and who knows how long that's going to last. Congratulations. Take a photograph, hang it on your wall so you can look at it when you're 50 and it's shrunk.
But what I was, because I went through a whole thing, because I had lots of girls that got very frustrated doing work with the gymnastic rings.
Sure. Well, they're
Because
frustrating. They're fucking hard.
oh, they're fucking hard, and that comes back to what I was saying earlier about the girls being sort of amazed by because they never saw me train, and going back to the technique stuff. So after I felt that pain the next day, I remember being like, I'm not going onto your CrossFits, your mountain athlete, places like that to learn how to do gymnastic ring work. I'm going to gymnastic stuff.
Yes. Exactly.
Where I live, the gymnastic community is not great. There are gymnastics clubs, but they tend to be tied into sort of the sort of government assisted facilities.
Understood.
The sort of Globo gym, they're attached to those, and so I thought, no, there's bound to be videos out, and I spent ages, the same as I did with doing front squats, back squats, cleans, snatches. Like, I would never show somebody how to do those things unless I knew how to do it. And it's funny, we'll go back to Michael Blevins, because I listened to a podcast about him, not about him, with him yesterday, and it was
I love that dude to death. He's incredible. He's always been nothing but nice to me. I love him so much.
But he said he was, obviously they were talking to him about training actors, and and he was explaining how many messages he gets and how much fun he has replying to those messages. What did Henry do to get like this? And but to that note, what he was saying was that the greatest, the best athletes get to where they are through hard work, etc. But the best of the best are comfortable with boredom and the repetitive nature of what it is to get better. And I think the average person, not even the average person, but we'll say the average person that wants to go to a gym, they see something like what I've done, or what you do, what you may currently be doing. We'll get onto that in a little bit. And they're like, I want to have a go at that. But the majority of people are not willing to do the repetitive stuff. They're not willing to be able to do, I don't know, a perfect clean at 30 kilos.
Right. Practice makes habit.
Practice makes habit. Practice makes perfect to a degree as well.
To a degree.
And
I agree with this idea that most people are not kind of at home with the idea of just making almost imperceptible incremental advances in a discipline, and it's called discipline for a reason. I would tell some of my people, look, a vast majority of your training here is just going to be almost plodding, ho-hum, okay, time to do another set of these, which I know how to do. And look, the advancements you're making are not going to be these super dramatic kind of sigmoid curve moments. They're going to be, it's like a game of millimeters where you're just adding you're adding a grain of sand onto the pile at a time. Before you know it, you're standing on top of a mountain, but you have to have patience. You have to kind of take the zoomed out big picture, like long view, that, okay, well, here's why I'm doing this today, because I'm looking for, forward to X years down the road where I'll be in, perhaps if things go well, a different place. So it's not going to be like, oh, okay, you learn how to do a thing and then you do the thing and next week you're fucking huge and ripped. Like, fucking A, like, come on, fuck right off with that. Like, people people don't want to slow cook what they eat. They want to drive through.
I mean, yeah, we can. I suppose this will get on to the first real subject that I wrote down. And Mark and Michael came up with a title for it because they're brilliant humans, and they always seem to be that little bit ahead of my curve, if anything. Because
everyone's they lead from the front, as they say.
Yeah, but I noticed you were on Instagram, but you don't seem to be anymore. But I've gone back towards Twitter a little bit more, but I like to post on to Instagram every now and again, just because it's a nice platform for. But fuck me, my absolute frustration with the fitness industry came about. Like when I was running my dad's gym, 2003, 2004, I think it was. And it was sort of a bog standard. There's a few machines in there, a free weights room, sauna, steam room, nice facility, good for
nice.
But I got frustrations in that place because it's not what I wanted. I was never happy with pleasing everybody, with having there's nothing wrong with having a smiley face, but I didn't want to put on that smiley face and click a door open on a reception desk. So I sort of stumbled upon Jim Jones. Followed Jim Jones. I paid for their site once it got going. Never got the opportunity to do the seminars or actually meet Mark or Michael face to face. Spoken to them online a few times. In fact, I've had some great conversations with both of them, either through Twitter, like I say, like 10 years ago, or Instagram recently about photography more than anything. Far less about the gym. But my frustration probably started around about the time that CrossFit started becoming that little bit more mainstream. And it sort of flowed into, like, I just remember being so angry that there were people that were around doing very similar, like, because CrossFit and the whole Jim Jones thing look very similar.
Except one, I think Mark wanted to kind of divorce himself from Greg Glassman's idea.
That's another point that I've got to bring up in a little bit. But yeah, I think, like, obviously Mark, being an intelligent guy that he is, saw the holes in what they were doing and got out fairly early in terms of the whole CrossFit thing. I've heard guys. Have you heard of Andy Stump?
Oh yeah.
I heard Andy Stump's podcast the other day, and he literally was like, he ended it with, like, if any of you guys disagree with what I'm saying, obviously there's the whole Greg Glassman controversy that's just recently gone on, and he delves it, like he's always said, he kept his mouth shut, delves into some stuff, and he ended the podcast with, and if any of you want to try and publicly call me out on this, I will burn that company to the ground. So he's obviously, and Andy was quite high up in CrossFit for a while. He was quite close with Greg and Dave Castro. He was quite close with those guys. So I think he's got some clout behind him.
Probably.
But yeah, my frustration started there, and it sort of bled into, like, I was like, fucking hell, there are guys out there doing stuff that it's not just inviting anybody and getting them to do shit that they physically may be able to do, but their body can't cope with, which is, and they're doing a weekend course that costs them £1,000 that I've spent since I was 15 years old learning the ins and outs of all of these processes and then specializing in specifics. And yet they're getting a qualification over a weekend, and now they can open a gym, and because they've got a name, they're taking my fucking clients, because people are fickle. And fitness has fads. If it's not a Fitball, it's a CrossFit. If it's not Zumba, it's aqua aerobics. Like, people are fickle, and the frustrating thing when you know something, when you actually know, and you know you're good at something, and you could teach people, and then but they're going over here. They're
course.
going away over to
Well,
the latest thing, which sort of ties into what I was
it's so
saying about
frustrating. I agree, and I've been there, and I've watched people kind of like float off into, towards the next new exciting thing. But again, back to the idea of patience. If you just continue doing what you're doing and improving yourself day in, day out in your chosen discipline, people will begin to realize who the real deal is and who's out there just faking it, who took the weekend course and who's full of shit. And then they're going to naturally compare and contrast and be like, oh, well, you know what? Darren really had this, fantastic way of explaining this thing that he actually understands. Whereas this dude's just like, come on, bro. And it's just, look, if someone wants to go hang out with the come on, bro guys, cool. Fuck right off. Go hang out with those dudes and, I don't know, do whatever the fuck you want in the mirror, congratulate each other, take hundreds of pictures of each other, post them on social media, and feel great about yourself for 10 minutes. Who fucking cares? But if, people will say, oh, well, maybe I actually want to adopt this as a way of life, let's go to who we kind of instinctually understand is the real deal, and who is an actual authority, so to speak, on the subject, then okay, people will find you. The people who are meant to find you will find you, because you don't want these bro douchebags near you anyway. People will inevitably, invariably show you exactly who they are, and it doesn't take long to pick up on their scent. And these people are ballast. Not to say that most of these people can't kind of have a quote unquote come to Jesus moment where they realize, oh man, I've been fucking up. I've just been like jocking myself in the mirror, these fucking mirror jockeys all day, when I should be getting capable and indestructible. And maybe they'll come to the right side of history, so to speak. But by and large, these people are ballast, and you want quality over quantity anyway.
Absolutely.
That being said, okay, it's going to fuck with your bottom line in your business, but if you're in the industry to make money, and you're not so-called pandering to the larger demographic, you're in for some lean times. But who the fuck cares about money? Really, outside, as long as your basic needs are met, who gives a shit about it in the grand scheme of things? Like, try and become a millionaire. I mean, okay, good for you, but if you're surrounding yourself with fucking idiots all day and counting your money, like, what fucking good is it? It's not.
Agree totally. Which sort of again, this is brilliant, because this is exactly how I want this podcast to go on with whoever I've got. I never want it to be a forced conversation. I want to go off on tangents. Yeah. I want to come back. So going back to I sort of weathered the storm of the CrossFit thing. In a way, like I said, I had a phase where I got a lot of people in that perhaps I wouldn't normally have let in, but I was making money at the time, and it was like, cool, this is great. And then they all left and went to CrossFit, and then it was like, fuck. I extended my my unit by an extra 50%, which I still had to pay for. But they moved on to the next fad, and it was always like the message, right? Sorry, go to this new CrossFit gym that had opened, which I'm still at this day, I'm not bitter about. It doesn't. You do you, dude.
Right.
Like, honestly, I'll still speak to you whenever I see you. Like, and the time that you spent with me in my facility, I think you didn't wrong me in any way, and we had a pretty good relationship. You found something else you like, and that's fine. So continued for quite a few years with again, I downsided 50%, and continued training people. I then went along to help my friends with their restaurant business.
Sure.
That started to take over quite a lot of my time. Obviously got my daughter as well, who I'm
Mm-hmm.
having to sort of juggle about, and make sure I've got time for her.
Naturally.
And the next thing in the fitness industry that still to this day drives me, sort of touched on it a minute ago, is this whole this influencer thing that's going on now. And you literally got a pretty girl in good shape posting workouts that she does that I'm going to have to say it, that somebody else has set behind. There's probably the person that's filming her, not necessarily performing exercises particularly good, but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter because genetically she's pretty sound anyway, and she's going to look pretty much that way regardless of the exercise she's doing there. And even like on the flip side of the guys, like you've got guys like I'm not even going to name names, but there's guys that got pretty famous on YouTube for doing 3-second videos of throwing food together, and then all of a sudden there you go, I'm a coach and I'm a nutritionist, I'm this and I'm that. and what drives me mad about it is that people buy into it, which they're going to. People are people. That's what they do.
Sure.
But like the infuriation, which I'm glad I'm still infuriated by it, by the way.
Good.
Like I'm glad that I still look at that and it makes me mad. It's like you look at and I'm not one for likes or shares or anything like that. I could give a flying fuck about it anymore. I went through a stage. I was like, I'm spending ages doing these photos, but as long as a few people that I know like them, I know that they're not just like double tapping just because they're going through a feed.
Yeah, they're scrolling through their feed. Yeah.
They've actually taken the time to read because I never post just a picture. I'll post a picture and I'll think about what I'm going to write before I post it.
Of course.
But then, yeah, you see these things all going up, and I'm going to say it. Fuck it, it's my podcast. I do what I want.
Attaboy.
The dum-dums that will follow these people and will go to the gym without any instruction and do exactly what these people are doing and think they're going to look like that. To me, that's even worse than people emailing Michael and asking him what he did with Henry to get him to look like that, because at least they're asking somebody.
right.
You're just following a fucking video that I
know it.
I see it sometimes. You got guys that have clearly set their phone up so that they can film themselves in a gym setting.
Yes.
I don't even know how to do. I'm pretty savvy with all technology. I could not tell you, other than turning my video on and then turning it around, which you never see. It's already set, and they already do it, and they're already in focus. There's always somebody else behind the camera. It's mental. Yeah. It's a phenomenon to me that makes no sense. And maybe I'm just an old man now, but it literally makes no sense to me.
Yeah, we're all old men, and that's cool. But the idea here is that, okay, yes, it's frustrating to see all of these people who have, some of them have reasonable potential. They're just kind of being led from pillar to post by the newest thing.
Yeah.
And they're never kind of settled in to one discipline to plumb its depths and see what's possible, adopting a long view and just realizing, okay, we're going to do some plodding, repetitive, quality work. They're like, oh, what's this thing? Oh, what's this new shiny thing? Oh, this other thing's over here, right? And you have to, in a way, feel bad for them because they're never going to achieve satisfaction. They're never going to get there, so to speak. Not that any of us really get there, but I think what's most critical is, the act of going there, not getting there.
Yeah.
The discipline is the practice, not like, oh, I finally fucking got there. I got separation between, this muscle and this muscle, and I got 1,000 likes in 10 minutes on Instagram. I fucking made it. Just let these people go off in their own private hell And, you know, as much as it drives you batty, just focus on doing what you're doing, and, you know, continue moving forward, continue moving upward in a way that suits you best, and just let these people go fucking chase whatever they're going to chase. And look at it this way, at least they're out of your way.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's funny because, like, when I emailed you the other day and I said to you that I hadn't seen you on social media, like in any capacity for quite a while. I've seen you quite active recently. And maybe it's an algorithm, or maybe you just suddenly started getting more active, or whatever it was. But
I think it's the latter.
I always remember reading stuff that, like, people like you or Jennifer Raff would put up, and it would always intrigue me. And the reason I messaged you was I haven't heard of Rob in a long time. I'm going to give him a message. And it's funny. I had sort of like during lockdown was good for me in some ways, bad for me in others.
Naturally.
But it made me, like, I've reconnected with a lot of people that I sort of fallen out of contact with, like my friend Deji over in LA, yourself, like a number of people that I just genuinely have been, quote unquote, too busy doing my own shit to even sort of think, oh, hang on, I haven't heard from this person, I haven't heard from that person. And just hearing you say that then is the reason that I need to stay in contact with people like you, because I do have an inherent, like, this is why I've called it obsessive conversive. I like to talk about stuff.
Sure.
But my brain fires in a funny old way. Like, I can get like, I'm in no way saying that I've got obsessive compulsive disorder, but my brain does obsess over certain things, and maybe that's a natural thing that everybody gets, but I notice it in myself. And I notice like in like current events, like a favorite comedian of mine in Chris D'Elia has recently come under fire for stuff. So my obsessive brain now, because it's like, no, can't be. I'm constantly on Twitter and then reading what people are saying and stuff, and like my brain is just like, go on, keep checking. And it's a stupid thing to do. It's a really stupid thing to do, because I do things to annoy myself, like checking out these fitness influencers. Like I'll scroll through it and just go, there are people out there that are clearly buying into this. They're buying into it. That's why you've got 120,000 followers and I've got 5.
Right.
And like,
do you think you do it because it throws coal on the fire?
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing that I need to get better at, and I'm slowly getting there at the age of 37, is rather than allowing that fire to get so hot that it's out of control, is allow it to simmer at a level that it becomes productive and creative. Because I've found that it'll only take one person to say, like, a comment like you literally just made there, do you think this? That I will lie in bed until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, no sleep, get up and be like literally typing away, writing. And the thoughts just go, they go, because there's all of a sudden that fire's died down enough, it stopped eating away at me enough that I can now use what I'm actually good at, which is A, being creative, and B, being productive.
Sure.
And it's funny because I had, like I said, the guys that I work for now are also good friends of mine.
Nice.
And a criticism of theirs is, every now and again, you seem to get real negative and seem like you can't be asked to be here. And I'm putting that out there, like, the boys, you know, they said, like, this conversation is private. It's, you know, it's essentially an appraisal. And they said, why do you think that is? And I said, during lockdown, I've rekindled that fire, that creativeness, that working as a chef is not that uncommon from working in a factory.
Yeah,
once you're going, it's literally like a conveyor belt, like go, 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 go. And like I said, I stopped with the gym about a year ago, which is not like, it's not the end of the book, it's the end of the chapter in that sense.
Right.
But for the best part of a year, I've had little to no creative output, and that is something that I think that someone like myself, someone like you, if you don't have that outlet, you either become severely depressed or severely unproductive.
Sure. Well, the energy is there no matter what you do. And if it is not kind of channeled and expressed properly, then it kind of mutates into something less than healthy.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of kind of allotting time and space and energy, to do what you believe is best for you, So, everything is a choice. We make our choices. Yeah. Well, sometimes there is no choice. Sometimes you do what you have to do. But by and large, I think in this context, where we put our energies is a choice. So yeah, I agree with your idea, and I think it's super important to kind of maintain that outlet. If for no other reason, you keep yourself, slightly less insane, right?
Yeah.
You notice my choice of words. But yeah, I think your point is sound, and it makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, so on the whole, being locked down for me was good because I got that break, and I've come back. I did a good thing as well, which I always used to do, where from like the age that George was walking around and stuff, was I've got, I think, somewhere in the region of about 120 tomato plants growing in my garden. But I've also got all other fruits and vegetables growing there. That was the start. I then I sort of produced, I guess, created a theme song for my brother's podcast.
Oh, neat.
Which I'll send you afterwards. I basically did like I found out a lot about Mac stuff because I had nothing else to do. So I was using GarageBand, and found out that on these headphones, which I'm not actually using the mic for at the moment, but if I plug these into Georgie's iPad and play my guitar through, I can actually use it as an amplifier, and it picks it up perfectly. So I just played Metallica 1.
That's a good one.
And then did a bit of vocals over it and stuff, because I obviously sound a little bit like my brother. So mapped this whole track, and I was like, all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is where your brain needs to go. So hadn't been playing my guitar for about a year. I broke my thumb and obviously couldn't play. So it was sort of just collecting dust in the corner. So I just picked it up randomly, and I was like, oh, I remember you actually like doing this. This stops you feeling like a mental person. Also, doing like learning new things for me is like the whole GarageBand. It's not an easy program to use if you're just trying to make a song. So going through YouTube tutorials and shit like that was good fun. And also, I've always had a curious sort of wander into how music is actually made. And I know GarageBand is not how it's all made with all the sliders in the studios and stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's less relevant now, and what's more relevant is the drive and the vision. The tools are almost irrelevant.
Yeah. So, but I sort of enjoyed doing that, and into my photography, and I've started because I'd obviously heard Michael and Mark since they were doing the Dissect podcast, which is now the non-profit, and they were talking about the Defend analog stuff, and I just got myself a cheap to medium priced scanner and started scanning through all my old photos from when I worked in upstate New York, which I'm going to bring on. This is sort of segueing into back into you. and I was like, oh yeah, remember all that time you used to sit in your shed, literally looking at photos of people at the gym, and you felt like it was the same thing. You actually enjoy this. You need to do things you enjoy, and not just go to work, make sure everybody's safe and well in bed, and then sit on your own. You need to be doing something. And that was sort of a great awakening that I had, because I think it's well documented. Chefs do tend to go one of two ways. They either leave the industry or become drug addicts. Luckily, not one for drugs. Thank you. I'm mad enough as it is.
I mean, look here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a powerful T-shirt.
It's polarizing. I'll tell you that.
And I think, like, after the chat I had with the guys at work, I look at work in a completely different way now. Like, I go into work and I want to win. I'm not going to work just because they pay me. Like, I want to win. I want to, everything as far as I can be perfect. And that's how I've always been. And I sort of forgot that for a little while. And it's nice to have that drive back, if you know what I mean.
Of course, because I think what's critical here is the idea that you are refocused on the discipline and not the reward. The practice of the discipline, the journey is the destination. That is the reward. The work is the reward, as I've said before back in the day. Like with chess, my first chess trainer used to talk to me about the ELO rating system. Whether it's FIDE or US Chess Federation or whatever, everyone has every tournament chess player has a rating, next to their name. And some players are absolutely obsessed with increasing their rating, to get to expert, to get to master, or what have you. Right. But then their chess suffers, their creativity suffers. And my coach once admonished me when we were on the topic. He said, Rob, don't chase the rating. Chase good moves and let the rating chase you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Great advice.
Similarly, people who are, chasing the money, okay. I mean, if that's your carrot at the end of the stick, cool, chase it. But, great. What do you do when you get it? You need more, right? It's like a Sisyphean hedonism. So chase the discipline and let the money chase you.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't, when I go to work every day, I don't focus on the money. I focus on taking care of the person under my hands, solving problems, and decreasing pain, increasing range of motion, and producing results based on what I know and my ability to solve problems. And then the money follows. Like, if I just focused on the money, and I've seen manual therapists who that's their only concern, is just getting paid at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Their work sucks. Their people see no relief, they get no results, and they don't make as much money, right? Yeah. Whereas I step into that space, my genuine concern is to offer, the person on the table relief from their presentations, and then all of a sudden I get paid much more, right? Yeah. And that's cool. I mean, right. I mean, I'd like to think that I cost more because I'm worth more, and I certainly put enough work into understanding the discipline, at least at this young stage in my career. I graduated from Bancroft at the top of the class. Like it was like 99.6 after 13 months of intensive study, and a vast majority of which I lived in my car. Funny enough, I spent all winter in a car, and I still fucking graduated.
Fucking hell, that's not fun on the East Coast of America.
no, sir, and you understand. But we won't get into the conditions under which that transpired. But the point is, I mean, I gave myself to it completely, and the proof is in seeing a person stride out of the clinic, whereas before they were limping. Or what have you. Whereas people who were just chasing the money, eventually their people will say, well, you know what, I'm not really getting any results. But that guy Rob, his people seem to be pretty happy when they walk out. Let's give him a try. And I think that speaks to kind of our previous idea of people kind of like chasing these Instagram likes and the new fads or whatever.
Yeah.
You're doing your thing, disciplined day in, day out, and achieving results and getting results for your people. And then just, letting the money chase you. Whereas all these other people are kind of, they have a fucked up value system, and they're going about things in, I don't want to say the wrong way, but a different way.
Yeah.
So eventually people will separate wheat from chaff and kind of see you for what you are and see me for what I am. And I'll just let the ratings chase me. I'll chase good moves. And
man. It's a good way of thinking about things. So if we go back, so I was listening to, God, I can't remember the podcast now, but it was a while ago, and they were talking about, oh God, I can't even think what the term is. Basically, what's the term for somebody that doesn't do drugs, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke?
Oh, straight edge?
Straight edge. So it was a straight edge podcast, and it was a guy that says he has got the straightest edge podcast on the internet.
What was his name?
I can't remember. I'll have a look on my phone in a second.
Because my buddy Bill does a podcast called Edgeland.
That's it, Edgeland.
Oh, no shit. You know what's funny? I just changed out of my Edgeland shirt. Like that's like my night shirt, right? That's really funny.
Shout out to the Edgeland podcast, to my one listener I'll have today. So
Bill.
you mentioned growing up in Albany, New York.
Yes.
And funny enough, like, I don't think we've ever discussed this, but I actually, I've got to remember the dates now. It's either 2000 or 2001 to about 2003, 2004.
Sure.
I actually worked in upstate New York over the summer in summer camps, and I looked after homeless children from New York City.
Oh, no kidding.
I was the sports teacher for the first 2 years, then I became the assistant director of the camp for the last 2 years. And I was based in Harriman State Park.
Okay.
You know it?
I don't know it.
No, it's not far from Monroe.
Okay.
And I think Woodbury Commons. You heard of that?
No, I don't know that place either. But
Woodbury Commons is like an outlet village of all. It's it's got Nike there and all the stuff. But it was just mad because I've literally been to Albany, and I was listening earlier as I was watering my garden, and you're like, I grew up in Albany, and I was like, no shit. I literally, of all the places, because when I say I worked in New York, people immediately think the city. And
that's what everyone thinks.
And I was like, it was about the first year I went, I think, and we had people working with us that were more local. We had people from the city, people from all over, but they were locals, and managed to get round like the Palisades, the big mall in the Palisades, and people.
Okay, yeah.
And there was, like, we went on like weekend trips to like people's parents and stuff like that. So I went to sort of Albany, Monroe, up to Harriman, because there's a big story about Harriman being a poor guy. A poorish guy wasn't allowed to live in the surrounding area. I'll have to look it up, what it's called, what the actual place is called. So he actually bought a plot of land, and he's now got a house that's at the top of Harriman State Park, looking down on it might be the town of Harriman. They might have renamed it.
Hang tight. I gotta get these dogs out of here. Hey, do you mind? No. Trying to have a conversation over here.
Yeah, so my boys are locked in the house, and they've got a tendency to try and have conversations with the neighbours' dogs, especially when I'm trying to do something. So I thought, recording wise, they're probably best off. And it's fucking hot here today. It's like
it is hot.
Like, I don't know. I'm not good with Fahrenheit, as you're probably not great with Celsius, but it's like 30 degrees here.
30, yeah, it's around like 28 here, like
Yeah.
20, 27, 28 here. Hang tight. All right, let's go. Good. Those dogs.
Yeah. So I'm sat in a wooden shed. So I'm essentially in a sauna at the moment.
At least you have a fan.
Yeah. Can you hear the fan?
Nope.
No, that's okay then. So going back to sort of the artistic expression thing that I was talking about earlier, because I do think it's a big part of myself that I have to make sure I keep in touch with. Are you doing anything sort of music wise at the moment?
Yeah, I have a band that's in the very early stages. We're demoing stuff right now, and yeah, that's about as far as we've gotten. I mean, a good friend of mine from Texas is fleshing out some structures, and he has a couple drummers in mind. So we're working on getting that stuff demoed currently. And the second I have anything real to share, I'll send it straight away.
Oh, nice. That'd be good. So yeah, so you had, what was it, One King Down?
One King Down. We've been active after a 17-year break. We played Albany. We came back in 2018. We played This Is Hardcore in Philadelphia, and that was a real treat. And then in I think it was October of the following year, we played a hometown show, and then played somewhere in Pennsylvania, somewhere else in Pennsylvania, some fest. And that was okay as well. But we got to play with Earth Crisis. We hadn't seen those dudes in forever. Wisdom in Chains, a bunch of really nice guys. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What sort of satisfaction do you get out of playing in front of a live audience?
That's a hard question to answer, because it's less satisfying and more like comfortable. It's like walking through the door at home and just like being at home with people you want to be around. And it's a comforting familiarity, but I mean, certainly more energetic than just walking through the door at home. It's a kind of a really nice feeling. It's what I grew up doing, and it's for my whole adult life been really the only place I've ever felt 100% comfortable and at home. Is just screaming at people.
I think we all. So going on to sort of like the whole trust the process philosophy.
Yeah.
Is the creative process as not rewarding? So let me rethink how I'm going to say this. So
yeah,
do you think you get more benefit out of creating the songs and the lyrics? You are a lyricist, aren't you? You write.
Yeah, through and through. Yeah.
Do you think you personally get more out of that, or more out of the performing and showing people the end product of what you've worked so hard for?
Those or do you think, great tastes.
Or does it go all mingle into one?
Well, no, these are entirely distinct entities, but they're two great tastes that taste great together. I think one is more meticulous and can definitely satisfy the more focused, the hyper-focused, detail-oriented, creative problem-solving parts of my brain. And then the other is just unbridled expression that kind of employs that pre-composed work as a vehicle to carry one through that catharsis. So it's almost like, okay, you get to build your Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome vehicle, and fine tune it and really kind of, get everything where you want it. And then you just fucking charge through, crowds of people. So it's another car analogy,
Yeah. So one of the possibly controversial things in the sort of mini bio I got you to put together was Rob carries a knife wherever he goes. But I was just, that sort of ties into the whole Instagram thing that I was talking about earlier, because incidentally, for all the work that I did photography wise and editing wise, my most liked photo, which is liked I think 180 times more than any other photo that I've got, is of my Yaxel knife. It's my Yaxel. What's it? What words escape me right now?
That's not a big deal.
Why can't I remember this? This is like one of my favorite things to talk about. The steel, the bloody samurai swords are made from when they fold it.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I don't precisely recall.
It's scary. Anyway, I took a photo of it. Was a present from one of the other chefs I work with. He got me. It's quite an expensive knife. It's a Santoku knife, so it's a multifunctional knife. Just literally put it on a chopping board, took a photo of it on my iPhone, uploaded it, like 200 plus likes, and I haven't even done anything. I literally just took that out of my phone. So maybe that's just an analogy of that. Don't overwork my photography. Maybe
maybe
keep it simple, stupid.
Right. But here's one that I keep near my bed. This one stays like practically under my pillow.
Right. Okay. And why knives?
It's a kukri.
Okay. What is that? A combat knife?
It's a whatever. If you're, I mean, any knife is a combat knife if you're in combat with it. I don't know. This is just a maximum damage, minimum effort knife. That's it. I don't know. The symbology of the knife has always been near and dear to me for multiple reasons. I mean, I for my father's 70th birthday, I ordered a Shawn chef's knife and its own display block, and just gave that to him. I said, okay, well, I can't tell you what the knife is supposed to mean to you, but I know what it means to me. So here's this. Use it in good health the rest of your days. But yeah, the knife and what it represents is extremely important to me. Always has been my whole life. And to say in detail what it means to me, much like how I'm reluctant to kind of decipher a lot of my kind of esoteric and kind of interpretable lyrical content, it would be a disservice for me to kind of impose my interpretation onto other people. I think it's critical that they kind of draw their own thing from it. But yeah, I guess that's the kind of long way of saying I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, as a chef, and
it's a symbol of your craft. Yeah.
And I'm always meticulous with my knives, like making sure they're sharp. I always use the Bourdain quote in the kitchen, which is, "You don't touch my dick, you don't touch my knives."
Nice.
And
unless somebody touches your dick, and then they're going to touch your knife.
Yeah.
Just the pointy end.
Yeah. And for a while, I was kind of it was kind of a standing joke because I'd bring my knife roll in and everyone would use the kitchen stock knives. But now quite a few people bring in their own knives and stuff, and it's I don't know. Again, I can't really explain my relationship with my chef's knives because I've got some that I carry with me all the time that I never use. I tend to use the same ones that you've got. What I've got certain like my boning knives and things like that are used for a specific purpose, which in my job don't get used very often.
Right.
But I've got one of two things depending on whether I'm like chopping onions or something a bit that's going to require a bit more detail.
Sure.
I will use one of those two knives, and I very rarely stray from them. And I can't tell you why, because all of my knives are good quality knives. It's just the size, the weight, the feel. I'm not sure what it is, but
well, those are a more comfortable extension of who you are.
Yeah.
And what,
So I completely understand the stance that you took then of like I can't really, and also not wanting to, like if I, like with my daughter, she's one of the only people who gets to touch my knives.
Sure.
And through lockdown I was teaching her how to chop an onion, basic knife skills, because I wanted to be able to be more than capable of cooking for herself, cooking for other people, because it's a good way of expressing your gratitude of people being around you, is if
Absolutely.
you can cook a nice meal.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with one of my housemates this morning. In fact, it's like the most basic and kind of on brand with, humans being a cooperative species expression of saying, okay, well, here, I love you, live another day,
Yeah, absolutely. She's one of the only people I've opened my knife roll to and just been like, pick one and learn how to use it. And funny enough, she took one that is a Japanese made knife, and it was fitting because I've obviously got full size chef knives. I've got the Santoku knives, I've got boning knives, tomato knives. I've got one that's a bit like that knife that you just pulled out. It's like a machete that I call Lucille. And it's basically for butchering. And she picked the small chef's knife, which is, I don't know if that makes any sense. It's sort of, I don't even know what's that, like 15 centimeters. So
15 centimeters is maybe like 7-8 inches, something
7-8
like
inches. So it fitted her. It was the right size for her. And she absolutely loves using that knife now. Like any chance she gets, she's chopping onions and asking if she can make a bolognese or a lasagna or anything like that. So it's cool. And I think that was a positive that I took out of the whole lockdown thing, is I got to spend a lot of time with her, like literally 6 to 7 weeks straight of just me and her time every day from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, schooling. And I tried my best to be loosey-goosey with her about timings and stuff. It's like, well, we'll just do it whenever ever need be. But it turned out that the systemic way that schooling is taught has had an impact on a girl that's been in school for, since she was 4 years old. She's 12 now. So 8 years of being up for a certain time, going to certain lessons, then having a break, then having your lunch, etc. Turns out that she needs that sort of structure in her life. She can't just be loosey-goosey like her dad and just be like, okay, so maybe at 10 o'clock we're going to do this. Maybe we're going to do that. But
right.
Once we got
she
that,
requires structure.
But once we got that structure, like I refused to adhere to the hundreds of emails that I would get on a weekly basis of, this is what she needs to do for English, this is what she needs to do for maths, this is what she needs to do for science. I'd pick and choose and be like, well, that's going to be relevant to her, so that's going to give her something. But also, we're taking the camera out, girl. We're going down to the river. We're going to take photos. I'm not going to tell you what to take photos of. You go and take them. Then I'll show you how to process them through a computer. And she did some great things. She took a picture of just like a viaduct. And it was just the arch in the viaduct. And then I showed, she's lucky. She gets a lot of hand downs from my dad who lives with us. And he got rid of his iPad Pro and Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
Missed me out. Straight to his favourite.
Right.
His favourite person in the house is definitely Georgie. And so he passed it down. And she came back. I'll see if I can pull it up to show you, because this is literally just a photograph of, like I said, of an arch and a bridge. And out of nowhere, she came up. I might have to turn. Oh shit! I forget I've got the far away camera as well.
That's
I'm gonna have to get up and do my best.
Oh, and by the way, 15 centimeters is 5.9 inches.
Well, every guy will go with it's definitely 7 then. Right, so I don't know. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, that's sick.
So she edited that all completely herself. I had nothing. I didn't even say that looks like that would be a good photo.
Oh, that's incredible.
So So there was a few positives, and like I said, there was a few negatives, but there's some, like, just moving on from out of that whole lockdown thing. I'm not sure what it's like with you guys. I sort of, because I listen to a few American podcasts.
Sure.
But, we've just recently, like, our Prime Minister keeps coming out with stuff that,
Boris,
that absolutely is right in line with your great leader. And so yesterday or the day before, he came out with that they're loosening down the social distancing, and I quote, this is a meter plus. That's it. So a meter plus what? But more importantly, so I think most people are in agreement that this whole pandemic has mostly affected people of ill health, people who don't look after themselves, and the elderly.
Sure.
So over here, the rules are being relaxed as of the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. So, pubs can open. Bingo halls can open. Like restaurants, like within reason. I think if you're a tiny little coffee shop, it's going to still have restrictions and stuff. Places that can't open are gyms. What else is there? Amusement parks can open. A few other things that you just go, right. So hang on. So places where people eat shit, people who drink alcohol, and generally people who are going to be most affected by the pubs being closed are going to be people that frequent the pub maybe a bit too much. Like, I'm all for going for a pint with my mates, but the people who are affected by the pubs being closed are not the average person who could sit in their garden and quite happily have a pint with their mates in the garden. It's going to be the people who are frequenting the alcohol fueled establishment.
Who just want to go get pissed.
Bingo halls frequented by mostly elderly people, of course. Like, amusement parks. I mean, we all know that the higher percentage of people, you only got to look at Disneyland, Disney World. I think it's got to be in the high 70 percentile of people are not just a bit overweight, they're morbidly obese. I mean,
morbidly obese. Like, some of these people are so massive that they bend light.
Yeah. but yet gyms, spas, massage, like somewhere that you would work, cannot open. Hairdressers can, though. And you look at it and go, hang on, so the establishments where people can actually, like, this is where I agree with the conspiracy theorists at times. And I'm not one for believing in conspiracy theorists, but you're thinking, hang on, Boris, you're setting yourself up here, because all the places, like, people going batshit crazy for McDonald's opening over here. Just in my town, which is not big. Well, my city is technically a city, but it's about the size of a town. They were queuing for an hour and a half to get a fucking Happy Meal.
Get the fuck out of here.
And it's fucking madness to me. But, like, yet those places can open, but the places that you can genuinely get fit, healthy, like they're still,
Yeah.
and they're blanketing what a gym is as well. Like if I was still running my gym,
Mm-hmm.
I could quite easily massively social distance in my gym. I just have
Sure.
two clients, and I stand at the other end of the room.
Right.
And I'd still be within distance of knowing what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong.
Of course.
Yeah, it's technically illegal right now for those places to open, and it's to me it's madness. It's like the whole situation is madness. I'm sure you've had it over with you, but telling somebody that, I think the whole wording, and a few of them could have just put their hands up and just go, we don't know, and a lot more
Yeah.
people would have a lot more respect for that.
Sure.
But
Well,
instead,
because it smacks of, you know, authoritarianism and kind of faking it until they make it.
and I don't know. I touched on this with my brother on his podcast, and because it's more about mental health, and I just said, do you know what I mean? And I'm not sure if this is an original thought or if I've heard it from someone like Michael or Mark, so I'm not going to say it's an original thought, but declaring somebody that works in something like a gym, who's spent their entire career, however long that is, helping people and telling them that they are non-essential, that's got to have massive, like, because when you meet somebody for the first time, you tend to ask them what they do.
Right.
So you attach yourself to what you do. So if there's a big meaning to that. Not stimulus, that
Yeah,
title, I am a strength coach, I am a masseuse, I am a chef. There's a big onus on that in terms of your personality, and to be told that, oh, well done, but you're not essential, so we don't require you.
right. So you're, you know, you're negatively impacting a person's, you know, sense of self, you know,
Yeah.
worth, and, you know, I mean, yeah, everyone needs to be needed. So I think, by and large, so to say to someone, okay, yeah, you and all you do, you are non-essential. You can kind of hang by the wayside until,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we get all these people and their Happy Meals out of the way, and, you know, get all these people crowding the pubs. You know, wait until they do their thing, and then you can provide your secondary service. You know.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I've never been one for politics, but over the last sort of 3 months, I have got sort of more of a disdain for it. Like I see, I think the UK and the US mirror each other quite a lot, and for obvious reasons. But
Sure.
I mean, I find myself, because like I said, I've got this funny brain that tends to look at things slightly differently at times, but I can't help but see Trump and Johnson as almost like the British American, like almost identical equivalent of each other.
Yeah, it's weird, but
It's so weird when you see them both.
Weird.
Like, because I follow a lot of you guys over in the States, so I see the stuff that's being retweeted about Trump and stuff, and you read through it, and you look at just on appearance, you go, they're the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how has this happened?
Dude, I watch a lot of British Parliament, House of Commons stuff. Like, I absolutely love it. I will watch it, dude. I will watch these people speak for hours.
Yeah,
it's like they are speaking in the proper Kings, and I'm just like, yes, give it to me.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing, because like most people in the States, and certainly people in American government, they have a fraction of the respect for, you know, spoken language, as you guys do over there. It is.
Yeah, it's but at the same time, that, I mean, in some ways, I should respect it a little bit more, maybe. what I find frustrating when you watch like the House of Commons, or there's a show over here you might want to try and catch. It's called Question Time, and it's like a political debate, and they'll have like a panel. You've got a very well spoken, I forget the guy's name, very well spoken, long term like political journalist who like mediates it, but the crowd asks the questions. They have underlying things that they discuss, but the crowd also come at them with questions. And it's only since literally talking to you like then for that 30 seconds, I thought maybe you should just actually admire their ability to use their words to deflect and never answer a fucking question ever.
Look, the U.S. politicians do that. You know, they speak circuitously and they never address the question. But who's the chair in the House right now?
Oh, I've got no idea.
He's like a gruff-voiced man who.
Let me check.
Yeah, he is absolutely captivating. Like the honorable gentleman, you know, that dude. I'm like, yes, that dude's.
So Right Honourable Jacob Rees-Mogg.
He's fucking great. That dude is great. Like, and I know I'm definitely in the American minority here, you know, as someone who will sit captivated by, you know, like eloquent orators. But man, that, you know, this dude will make point after point after point. And yes, okay, it is a bit, he's a bit verbose, but he weaves language like in these like lilting braids that are just like, okay, yeah, feed me, give me more. And it's also very interesting to see the behaviors of, you know, incensed members of the House when they're just like they're just completely on fire. And they, you know, they throw shade at each other, and it's just so sick. I absolutely love it. And then, you know, people warring across the aisle. It's like they insult each other beautifully. It's great.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was having a conversation with my dad the other day because we'd seen a bit of news that there was a meat processing factory in Germany that just like got riddled with COVID. So they've locked down that town or whatever. And I said, like, to me, this makes common sense, but obviously there's more powers at play within politics. But I said, like, during the time when nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, which they still probably don't.
Yeah.
So I know you've got your Republicans and Democrats, our blue and reds, the Conservatives and Labour.
So Labour Party
and the Conservatives. They're the two main. They're the two that are the only two that are going to win anything ever. And I just said to my dad, what I can't understand, like this was a completely different situation to normal. Why didn't they just sit down and go, right, fuck, like our regular party,
fuck partisan politics, and just work together.
Right, we're obviously all very good at what we do. What should we do? And bounce ideas off each other instead of like you see as you watch it, they'll be slamming each other. Like it's almost like a roast battle in like the most posh roast battle of all time.
And it speaks to people's inability to separate themselves psychologically from that which they identify, like, you know, their political party, and to see themselves as a member of a team working towards a global common good.
Yeah.
So people are very stupid and very short-sighted in that way.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because I think that between all of them, just in terms of the British Isles as an island, they I'm sure between all of those people, they could have come up with a way better solution than what actually happened. And fuck me, if something that's a lot scarier than this coronavirus comes about, this world is like let's fucking because
as you put it over there, you know, we're right proper fucked.
Yeah.
Right. So unless Cthulhu comes out of the ocean to destroy humanity, like, you know, just get it over with. Like, stare at me first, please. Whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it would be an interesting podcast to like take the most interesting and positive and choice snippets from discourse in the House and call it common sense.
Fucking hell, that's brilliant. You thought, was that a pre-thought thing?
No, I just thought of it just now. I'm like, yeah, that'd be actually kind of cool.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I got about 15 minutes before I have to start getting ready for work, pal.
Yeah, so I was just about to say start wrapping up in a bit anyway.
No problem.
I know you're a sci-fi aficionado, and I haven't spoken to anybody other than people I work with, and they can be quite biased. Thoughts on the ending to the Star Wars saga?
Oh, I'm just going to take it for what it is, you know, and, you know, kind of, I will employ your own statement. It's like the end of a chapter, not a book, because, okay, it seems like there's still more to come, much like the Dune saga.
Yeah.
You know, like what you see in the book Dune and the movie Dune is only a blink of an eye in the expansive timeline of that universe. Yeah. You know, we're talking like tens of thousands of years of worth of story. But then the Fremen Rebellion is just a part of that story. Like Paul Atreides becomes Muad'Dib, like that's like a flash in the pan in the grand scheme of things, you know. It's so in the same way, I'd like to think that, you know, episodes 1 through 9, I mean episodes 4 through 9, because 1 through 3 is a fucking shit show. Like, get away from me with that garbage. Like, okay, the lightsaber battles were reasonable. They were well choreographed, and I like Darth Maul very much, but because he's just seething with contempt. So I think out of all the you know, if I'm, you know, dark side minded, I will definitely identify with that tattooed freak who just wants to kill people. It's great.
I know it probably made, I mean, try not to go on too many Star Wars standard tangents, but I find, obviously, because of the wide market that they try and pitch such a huge movie to, certain characters got left behind, and Maul was definitely one of them. Like, there could have been so much more on Maul. And even Dooku.
Like Maul, Dooku, and even Captain Phasma. I would like to have seen her character more completely developed. Like, you know, I want to know more about her. Why is she the captain? Why is she so badass? Like, why is she shiny?
Yeah, how come she's shiny compared to everybody else?
Right.
But I was also in a fortunate position with the first 3, well, 1, 2, and 3, being that I was quite young when they came out. So that was my sort of exposure to Star Wars initially. I mean, I'd seen the original trilogy.
Sure, 4, 5, 6,
but I wasn't really that receptive to it. I was at an age where I was like, this is fucking cool. I like lightsabers. I like all this. And then when I rewatched 4, 5, 6, it was more like, I get it. And then Georgie was at an age when Rey first came onto the scene. He was super excited about Rey, so I could get super excited about Rey because I could see that George was getting into Star Wars, and it was like, this is fucking cool. And she was reading comics. She could tell you the backstory of so many characters.
Yeah, contagious enthusiasm.
So when the next ones were coming out, she was getting super excited. So it was like, cool. And like the guys that I work with, they all love Star Wars, so we get like the midnight viewing. Even though I always had to work the next fucking day at 9 o'clock.
But you know, you get what you pay for.
And the only time that Georgie got really confused was when they brought out Rogue One and Solo, because I think she was about 9 or 10 when that started happening, and she was like, I don't get it. I'm completely, and you try and explain to her, and she's like, yeah, but why didn't they just bring those out once they'd finished? I was like, because it's the movie business, George, and they want to make as much money, and people are interested in Star Wars at the moment, so that's why that. but yeah, she got a little bit confused with that sort of stuff. But
that's all right. It becomes a teachable moment on the grand scheme of things. Commerce and timing.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't hate it. I feel like the last one there, it was a bit like, fuck, we need to finish this. Let's just, I don't know, Palpatine will do. And so, spoiler alert, but because I don't think I don't think that was always the narrative. I genuinely don't think that was always the original thought of where Rey came from. I think they what was it? Is it The Last Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
I think that sort of fucked everything. Because I mean, The Force Awakens was all right visually; it was great at times.
Agreed.
Storyline wasn't perfect, but let's be honest, not many of the Star Wars storylines are fucking perfect. You can pick holes in any of them. But,
yeah, I mean, not like plot holes you can drive a truck through.
No. But and I think that the Last Jedi, the way that sort of took the story, I think they were trying to like pull it back. Fuck that one, but we can't delete it. Let's see what we could do. People are actually asking about Rey, where she comes from. She can't just be nobody. Blah blah blah. Too obvious if we make her a Solo or a Skywalker.
Sure.
And then to finish it with like, I'm Rey Skywalker. It was a bit like, no.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. But I liked it. I liked the film. I liked seeing the characters. I liked it. Like when the Force Ghost would pop up, or when you thought, you thought Chewie had been shot out of the air. And that was the first inkling that, like, I was like, oh, fucking hell, they're going to do it, aren't they? They're going to make a descendant of fucking Palpatine when the Force Lightning came out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I mean, I think they did the best they could with what they had to work with at the time. So I can't really say much, past that. I thought it was visually a tremendous film. I thought that, throwing the millions and millions of dollars at the visual effects team will have that effect, so to speak. But I thought that the final kind of standoff was interesting. I thought the choreography of the fight, the lightsaber fighting was very good. And I remember kind of looking back at Episode 4 and looking at the lightsaber fights comparatively. And they're certainly less acrobatic, and less intense, but they also have kind of a subtlety to them. When Obi-Wan and Darth Vader had their final face-off, their movements were, so I mean, Sir Alec Guinness did his damnedest, but like. Yeah, I thought that was okay. I mean, certainly no Qui-Gon Jinn versus Darth Maul. That was absolutely fucking sick.
Yeah.
But okay, we can't ask for too much. I thought, it's nice to celebrate the progression of that, that story and how that story is told.
Yeah. Like I said, like I felt a bit bad for my friends that are like some of them. They can tell you about characters that I can't even.
Right.
And I'm quite into Star Wars. Like if I talk to any of my the guys I used to play football with about Star Wars, they'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But the guys that I work with now, they're like super into it, and I think they felt very let down, and I felt bad because I didn't really. I was like, oh well, it's just I'm glad I just get to watch another bit of Star Wars.
Right, exactly. I mean, well, what do you expect? Like, what do people want? Do you want the plot twist at the end of the movie 7? Every movie you see, like, come on, man, just watch the fucking movie and eat your popcorn and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's a fucking critic. Cool. Well, go write your own ending then.
Yeah.
Which I think is transferable to real life, right? You don't like the ending? Go write your own ending.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I think that's a great place to stop the podcast, Rob.
Oh, perfect, man.
Listen, man, I'll let you know how I get on with finding where this. I don't even know where this is recording to at the moment, but it is recording.
Hey, man, you'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. I'll send you all over that. And if you want to find Rob, it's Lumen Ancestry on Twitter. Well, there was a few on Twitter I saw. There's a Rob
few.
Fusco with some letters behind your name that I was like, what's this? Was Rob running for some political?
Nah, man. So I do a Dark Souls themed Twitter.
Yeah.
You can find me at Dark Souls Clips.
Yeah.
And that's basically like gaming, like video gaming, some chess, some poker.
Yeah.
But primarily just like video gaming and a lot of Dark Souls and Bloodborne stuff. So I run that. And then you can find me on Twitter at Lumen Ancestry. And if you want to reach out via email, it's easy. robfusco@gmail.com. That's probably the easiest way.
And just to finish, because I need to know this. How do you pronounce your surname?
Oh, I don't know yet.
You don't know yet?
The traditional Italian pronunciation is Fusco.
Fusco, yeah.
And I've adopted that for a while, but my dad pronounces it Fusco, which is like this American bastardization of it's like let's the FU sound is like fusion, but let's make it Fusco. And I'm like, okay, well, I started pronouncing it Fusco once I started going to Italy and spending a lot of time there. It is entirely irrelevant to me.
Oh yeah, it was just because I listened to obviously 2 different podcasts earlier, and they both pronounce your name differently, and I was like,
everyone does, and it's cool. I
just call you Rob.
Just call me Rob. That's I'm okay with that. That works because thankfully that's my name.
All right, nice one, man. It's great. Thanks for giving me your time, and thanks for popping my solo podcast virginity.
Oh, dude, cheers. I appreciate you, taking some time having a washed up wreck of a dude like me on your podcast.
All right, man, let's do it again.
Oh yeah, I think that would be absolutely fantastic. And I'll look forward to your texts and be in touch. Man. I'm gonna go get ready for work and take care of some people. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Okay, man. Peace out, man.
Cheers.
Bye.